want to find some new romance authors but don't know where to start, I'm sharing some of my absolute favorite authors and their best books so that you can find some new romance books to read. First up is Helena Hunting. She is most famous for her Spark House series, which features three sisters who run an event hotel together. The first in the series is When Sparks Fly, and this features Declan and Avery. They have been friends their entire lives, and now they are currently living together as roommates. This is one of those, there's an undercurrent of attraction there, but neither of them is willing to give up their friendship to see what could actually happen. But when an accident occurs, Declan ends up taking care of Avery, and they get close in ways that they never have before. So that attraction starts bubbling over and turning into some very steamy scenes that are so much fun to read. This ultimately turns into a fantastic friends to lovers book with a very satisfying conclusion, and the rest of the series is just as good. Next up is Catherine Center. So her books fall into the romance but also women's fiction category. There's a lot of growth with the female characters, but there's also usually an undercurrent of romance as well. But her books are just fantastic, and she has a huge catalog to read from, so I couldn't help but recommend her. The book I'm going to suggest today is The Bodyguard. So this is one of her more recent options, and it has a little bit more of that romance story in there. I love that this book puts a little twist on the bodyguard and person they're protecting romance, because the bodyguard is actually a female. She adores her job and puts everything she has into it, which means she has no time for a life outside of her work. But things start to change when she's assigned to Jack, who is a former famous movie star. Now, Jack is more of a reclusive now, but he still needs someone to protect him as he starts to get back into the movie scene. Hannah is there to protect him against a very specific stalker threat, and she takes her job very seriously. So she knows, despite how handsome he undeniably is, that there is no chance of anything happening between them. But as Hannah spends time with Jack and his family on their adorable ranch, she can't help but feel a longing for a life that she never previously wanted. My next author is Denise Williams. She writes romance books that have a little bit of steam, but also focus on some really heavy topics. And I feel like she deals with them really well and shows a lot of growth of her characters, as well as wraps up the story in very satisfying ways. The book I'm going to recommend by her is The Fastest Way to Fall. This is the most recent of hers that I read, and it features a workout/fitness app that I think is a really cool idea. Britta and Wes are our two main characters, and Britta is writing for a lifestyle website, and she is tasked with trying out this new fitness app that Wes's company developed. So as part of her test run, she signs up for the app and is assigned a personal coach. Well, Wes wants to get more in touch with his app and understand how users are liking it and how it's working, so he agrees to take one client on as a fitness coach. That turns out to be Britta. Now, neither of them know who the other are, at least at first, but they can't help feel a little connection as they send messages back and forth and email, and that eventually turns into more communication off the app and meetups in person. So this is all strictly not recommended by a fitness app, but they are going kind of against the rules to see where this attraction goes. Eventually, they do realize who each other are, and they understand that this could have very significant consequences for their jobs. And I loved how Denise doesn't shy away from that fact, and she walks through what happens when you take these risks and how that can negatively affect your life, but how a couple who's truly meant to be together can work through some difficult situations to find a way. Next up is potentially my all-time favorite romance author, and that is Abby Jimenez. She has a few books that are in series as well as some standalone novels, and the one that I'm recommending is Part of Your World, which is again one of her more recent books. This is a standalone novel, so it's a little bit easier to pick up by itself. This one features the trope of two people coming from very different backgrounds and trying to figure out how they can work together. Alexis is an ER doctor who ends up driving through a small town late one night and happens to meet Daniel, who is a carpenter who lives in this small town. Now, there is an immediate attraction there, but they both realize like nothing can come of this because they are extremely different people from extremely different worlds. Alexis is facing ridiculously high standards from her wealthy parents and her wealthy friends who focus more on prestige and success and money than what truly matters in this world. Meanwhile, Daniel loves his small town life. He is satisfied with the people he's around, the work that he's doing, and has no interest in prestige or making more money. So they both understand that they are very different people with very different goals in life. Alexis and Daniel both agree to try just a short term physical attraction based romance. So this does get pretty steamy, but it also has a lot of heart. And you see, once again, two people facing very difficult circumstances and trying to figure out how they can compromise and maybe cut people out of their life as needed, or have very difficult conversations with their families and friends to do what's best for them. And the last author I'm going to recommend is Sarah Adams. Now, she is the queen of the rom-com type books. Her novels feel like romance movies just wrapped up in book form. They are charming and sweet, often feature a lot of small towns and quirky characters. Case in point, When in Rome. This one it's a great small town romance. It features a celebrity who's running away from her life for a bit and breaks down outside of some guy's house in Rome, Kentucky. As she tries to figure out what to do, she ends up staying with this guy for a while until she can get her car fixed, and is slowly incorporated into his life and the town that he lives in. And she starts to realize that the celebrity life that she left behind may not be for her. But obviously, they know that she does have a life to return to. So this is a short-term thing. And if they want to make it work, they will need to figure out how to take this beyond the small town of Rome. I hope you found some new authors or some new books that you will absolutely love. Make sure you subscribe for more romance book recommendations.